Hi guys, this is going to be my review for Haunting Adeline. And for those of you guys wondering, I am wearing a shirt. I know that this matches my skin tone pretty well. But it's a Nightmare Before Christmas shirt. I just wanted to do a little bit spooky because this book is a little bit spooky scary. It's very creepy. It'll put you in that dark romance vibe. The there's a stalker romance in this where this stalker runs this secret organization that takes down criminals that do a very specific thing that is not okay. And the criminal ends up falling in love with this girl and stalking her, and he ends up seeing her at an event, and they slowly fall in love. And that's basically the whole story. I gave this a 5 out of 5. I love this book. There was a lot of smut scenes, and there was a lot of smut scenes that were questionable. So I would check the trigger warnings. I would like there's one trigger warning that I was like I don't get what that means, and I had to look it up online because it was a big word, and I'm not good with big words, so I had to look that up online. I would look up the trigger warnings as many as possible. There are some websites that do have more specific trigger warnings. So look up multiple sources for the trigger warnings because there's a lot in this book that could be triggering. There was a lot of scenes that I was not okay with. There was a lot of scenes that I was not okay with, but I was okay with because it was fiction. And then there was just scenes that I was like, oh, I feel really fucking uncomfortable. There was so many scenes where I felt really uncomfortable. And it's just because of the subject matter that this book does cover. I wish I could say a lot more, but I don't want this video to get flagged. If I can, I am going to include overlays and trigger warning explanations visually so that you guys can see. But this was, I liked it. It had a lot of crazy scenes. Chapter 16 was one of them. That's a really popular one. But there are other crazy, sexy scenes that they have in this book. That's like, oh, okay. nobody, nobody told me that there was gonna be a lot weirder. But it was a vibe. It was an experience. I liked it. I'm on the second one. I'm 14 chapters into the second book, and the second book is just as wild. This one is more of a murder mystery, as the second book is more of a literally trying to find an individual kind of book. So, like, second book is more Taken, if you get what I mean. The Taken storyline, that's what the second book is about. And this first book is like stalker romance and murder mystery. I gave it, like I said, I gave a 5 out of 5. I'm not too analytical when it comes to reading books. I just read books for the vibes. And if you get me through the book really quickly, if you do not make me question a lot about the world and a lot about the world building, and you provide a story that's just really engaging and has me flipping the pages, I will give you a 5 out of 5. Like, I'm really low maintenance when it comes to books. Literally, if you just include a bunch of action scenes, a bunch of dialogue, and a really good story, that's all I need. This book could have had like 100 typos, and I would have still give it a 5 out of 5. That's how low maintenance my like reviews are, and maybe that's not a good thing, but like I my reviews are mainly like, did I enjoy this, and did this make the time go by quickly, did I enjoy being in this world? And that I mean, for this book, it's a little there are some scenes where you will be uncomfortable. You will 100% be uncomfortable, because I was uncomfortable. And I'm not saying that you're going to be 100% uncomfortable, but you will feel slight discomfort. And if you don't, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you, sis, because there, like I said, there are some scenes that, and I'm laughing more nervously than because it's funny, but there are some scenes where I would, like I said, look up the trigger warnings, because this book is intense. Like it's intense. Victims of SA. I would be careful when picking up this book. There I'm the second book has more of it, but this book, it's not exactly SA, but it's, if I can include a way to overlay it, I will, but it's one of those things where I don't want to get too far into it because it's more of a fetish, and it's interesting. It's it's like, oh, okay, I see how somebody would enjoy this, but this is not for me kind of thing. You know what I mean? So if you are going to pick up this book, I will say, and I am stressing, check the trigger warnings. I think I was able to read this book because there's a TV show, and I'm not promoting this TV show, but there's a TV show I grew up watching called Nikita, and it came out in 2010, and it was about this girl that was in this spy organization, and the spy organization was trying to take down certain individuals, and it dealt with a lot of similar themes, and it dealt with a lot of similar stuff that this book dealt with. So I think that's why I was able to get through this relatively unscathed, and I'm still on the second book, and I'm still kind of like, oh, well, this kind of still reminds me of Nikita. And if you've ever seen Nikita, there was a very, like, one of those shows that not that many people watched. It got canceled after the fourth season. I loved it. That was like my guilty pleasure when I was growing up as a teenager because I eat that shit up. But basically, if you've seen that, you know, you kind of have an idea of what this deals with. And they deal with similar topics. And I will stress, check the trigger warnings. Your mental health is important. You should be taking care of yourself when it comes to reading and being careful of what you're consuming just in case you have any triggers, because this is one of those books where, like I said, I was able to get through it. There was only like a few scenes that made me really uncomfortable to the point where I was like, I almost put down the book, but I was like, okay, I'm just going to trust the author on this one, and I'm going to get through it, and then as soon as I'm done, I'll see how I feel. So this one, I think around this page, like around this much, like 200 pages in, I sped through the rest of this book. I stopped reading A Court of Wings and Ruin in order to finish this book because this book was just, it was everything for me. It was everything. I had to finish it. So if you want a book that's like a quick read, mindless kind of read, that's the kind of book. This is the kind of book you want to pick up because I love this shit. Um, the only qualm I did have, and I was talking about this with somebody else, is Adeline has this thing, this character flaw, where she likes to get scared, and that's how the whole stalker romance thing happens. But she does this thing where she's like, "Oh my god, I would never want a stalker to look at me," and then she's like, and it's like, Addie, Addie, what the hell? You're saying you don't want this stalker to come after you, and then you're tempting him. What are you doing, sis? Sis, what are you doing? But yeah, it was funny. I found that funny, but if I was looking at this more analytically, I'd be a little irked. But since it was a good story, I ignored all that shit. I ignored all that shit because this had me racing through pages. I loved it. 5 out of 5. Amazing. Have a good day, guys.